Okay, I think we have everybody's in. So again, I'm going to put the link for the Nearpod in the chat. Again, I want to welcome everybody to our session today. With us presenting with me, my name is Mary Metzler. I'm the Director of Education for the Maryland Council on Economic Education. Joining me today is Dr. Alan Cox, stock market expert extraordinaire. And I also have joining us is Flo Flacco, who's with Baltimore County Public Schools. She has been teaching the stock market game for a long time, and she is involved in math is her area of expertise. She's actually written some material, put together some materials that we're going to be launching on that we're going to be launching on our website within the next couple of weeks, and we'll be sending out an announcement when that happens. Okay, somebody asked if about the Nearpod allowing notes, and I just enabled it, so you should be able to take notes. Full confession, this is our the first time that we are using Nearpod, so we hope it goes well. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a little bit about our agenda. We just did our welcome, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be walking through some lessons from SIFMA, and as new stock market game participants, you might find that if you haven't played the game before and you're like, where do I start? You can always start by just using the lessons that are provided for you. And so we're going to look at the lesson called What is Diversification? And we also will probably get to the identifying symbols and interpreting stock quotes. And the other item we're going to talk about is how do you implement the stock market game in your classroom. Okay. So some specific items that we're going to look at is terminology, some tips and tricks. We're going to look at Yahoo Finance, which is one tool that you can use for looking up stock information, stock screeners, and then we're going to get our advice. So this lesson that I'm using, I just want to let you know, this is something you could actually run in your classroom. I have actually taken the lesson directly from I printed it out. I have a hard copy in my hand, and I have taken components of it and put it in this particular Nearpod. Okay, so I'm going to put the Nearpod link in again in the chat. Somebody mentioned that they're not able to see notes. That feature might not be available right now. Okay. So kind of a thumbs up from a couple people. Do you have the Nearpod up and running? Okay. Thank you, Jamal. Okay. So if I was in a classroom teaching this particular lesson, I would start off maybe with a warm-up question or just a general question to my students and saying, have you heard of this phrase? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And students may or may not have heard of it, but it would lead into a discussion about diversity in your portfolio. So the objective for the students would be to learn how to diversify their stock market game portfolio by investing in different companies in different industries. So here's a little teacher background for you. by investing in different types of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, your entire portfolio won't be wiped out if your if you have one stock that goes south. I've told the story several times, and you may have heard it before. I had a group of students who decided that they were only going to invest in risky stocks. Well, when they only chose risky stocks and the market was not doing well, guess what happened? They were in last place in the game. And so, I had explained to them by diversifying, by using different stocks, choosing different stocks from different industries and different sectors, they would have a little bit more broad base a broad base of investments. Therefore, they wouldn't end up in last place. They never did recover. So I'm going to start off by a quick little review question for you. And you might not, whoops. Hold on, let me go back. I'm going to start off by a review question. And I'm going to have you answer this question. Do you know the difference between an industry and a sector? And if you don't, it's okay. We'll give you the answers. So this is a matching game. You click on the term and then you click on the definition. And this one's easy because there's only a couple of things. Okay, I see that a number of you know what the difference is between an industry and a sector, but let's break it down a little bit. Dr. Cox is going to explain what an industry is and what a sector is and why it's important. Ellen, you need to unmute. Okay.
I need to get back to the screen now.
So I have the sector one up right now.
All right, I think I'm back.
Okay.
All right. If you look at the Standard & Poor 500 companies, which is one of the things that investors take a look at, to kind of see where markets are going, what various sectors of the economy are doing. There are 500 or more US-based large corporations that are in the S&P 500. And when you take a look at the S&P 500 sectors, they're broken down into 11 categories. So that you see the 11 categories on the screen now. And some of them are pretty obvious to you. Energy would be like Exxon. Materials would be kind of the things that you buy as a commodity, for example, that go into producing things like lumber. Industrials would be companies like General Electric, big industrial companies, utilities, obviously, healthcare. Financials would be like your banks and credit unions and insurance companies. Now, some of these may not be obvious to you. Consumer discretionary, these are things that consumers buy, but they don't have to buy them, right? And that is compared to consumer staples, which are things that you're going to buy all the time, no matter what the situation in the economy might be. So a consumer staple would be Procter & Gamble. You're going to buy toothpaste, right? So that's the difference between consumer discretionary and consumer staple. Information technology, that's all of your Apples and Googles and so forth. And some of those also fall into communication services like Verizon, for example. And real estate, I think you know what real estate is. So those are the 11 sectors that make up the huge economy that we call the S&P 500. Okay, next. Now, when you look at a sector, within those sectors are the various industries. So our example here is the financial sector. So you have all your banks are here, and you have your life insurance and other kinds of insurance companies are in here too. Asset management companies like Fidelity, for example, would be an industry within the financial sector of the S&P 500. Okay.
So I'm going to have you, again, this is a question that comes from the lesson. So I'm going to have you answer this question. You can just answer right there in Nearpod. Home Depot is a hardware store. Why does it also sell bottled water? Amazon started as an online bookstore. Why does it also sell everything from batteries to shoes? And this is in an attempt to get your students to think about the broader picture, like that of stores are also diversified within themselves. So I'll give you a minute or so. You can just pop in an answer. You have some great answers. I like the response about diversifying in terms of impulse buying. But yes, and every, this is sort of like stores like Target, Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot, whatever, they sell a variety of products. Therefore, if one product doesn't sell well, it's not going to bring the whole company down. So again, this is just a typical question that's part of the lesson plan that you can bring in and ask your students. All right, I'm going to move on to the next slide. And with this lesson comes two different activities. Now, I'm going to point out for these activities, I pulled from the middle school program, figuring that we had some elementary school people here, we have some high school people, we have middle school. So I kind of pulled from the middle. The elementary school worksheets are going to be a lot easier, and the high school ones are going to be a little bit more complex. So there's two different activities. One's called How Diversified Are These Portfolios? And the other one is How Diversified Is Your Stock Market Game Portfolio? Now, you can actually download this document. If you are not able to see where the download button is, it's in the upper right corner. You might need to move the Zoom picture out of the way a little bit. But the idea, and we're not going to do this today, but the idea behind this document is that when students are working in their teams, they're going to look at portfolio A, B, and C, and that are not diversified. And what they would do is they would create a diversified portfolio by using a little bit of mixing up of different industries. Dr. Cox, do you have anything you want to say about this?
Well, some of you may not be able to recognize some of these ticker symbols, but some of them are pretty obvious, I think. For example, in portfolio A, the GS is Goldman Sachs, right? TD Ameritrade, JP Morgan, JPM, you see there. PayPal, you may recognize that one as the PYPL. And just a little bit here, I'm going to be showing you how to look up ticker symbols. So as you look at this lesson, when you see those ticker symbols, students would be able to go to a resource like Yahoo Finance, type in the name of a company they're looking for, and they'll get the ticker symbol from there. So just to give you an idea of where we're going to be heading here in a few minutes.
So I also want to mention that these documents are available on our website in a Word format. I mean, if you go to the stock market game, to the SIFMA website, they're all going to be in PDFs. That does not work very well if you're in a virtual environment. So we converted them to Word documents, so then you can get the Word version, and you can upload that and use it in your learning management system in Google Docs, however you're teaching. The second activity is how diverse is your stock market game portfolio. So the students would then look at their holdings and do an analysis of what their portfolios look like, and then take a few minutes to evaluate what they have purchased, and maybe they need to buy something. And if they want to have a diversified portfolio, maybe they need to buy stocks in a different industry. I believe that you cannot have more than 20% of one stock that's one of the rules, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you really need to, students really need to make sure they mix it up a little bit. So I'm not going to have you answer this question now, but what you could use for an exit ticket is a question like this: what is diversification? What are some examples of diversification? So after the students spend the time on this particular activity, which would take between 30 and 40 minutes in a classroom situation when they're working in teams, you could use this as an exit ticket on your way out the door, or use it through your LMS to see if they understand those concepts. Before we move on, does anybody have any particular questions thus far?
I have a quick question
Sure.
regarding the indexes, and the main three indexes here in the United States, which is the S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq. Do we actually talk to the kids about the global indexes, the ones that's in Europe and the one that's in China?
Well, you can, obviously, and a diversified portfolio would include international as well. So I would advise you, yes, if you feel comfortable teaching about the other indexes that are out there. But for the most part, to get your kids started, they're going to take a look at companies they already know something about, right? And that's where you can start talking about, well, let's take a look at the companies you know something about. How diverse would a portfolio be if you only invested in the companies you know something about? So that would be a good kind of intro into how you can talk about diversity at the same time. But if you feel comfortable talking about, looking at Europe, or looking at Asia, or looking at some of the other indexes that are out there, they are available on websites like Yahoo. So by all means, if you feel comfortable taking your students to that direction, by all means do it.
Awesome. And my last question is, do we express to our students within these teachings the three different variations of how a person can actually invest their money? So like you have fixed, you have variable, and we also have index. Is this incorporated in it as well?
You can. And part of this comes down to your comfort level in teaching students those concepts. So if you're teaching the stock market game for the first time and you're not an expert in the stock market game, a lot of times people will choose, I'm just going to use the lessons as they're written. But on the stock market game website and the Teacher Support Center, there's also lessons for experience. They have like novice, and then they have experience, and you can dig deeper into those topics. So yes, whatever you feel you're comfortable with, and you do not. When Flo speaks, she's been teaching this program for so many years. She doesn't use the SIFMA website that much anymore. She has her own materials that she's developed. And Dr. Halba, who was in the morning session, the earlier session with the high school students, talking about the stock market game, she started off by using the SIFMA website, and then she started developing her own lessons based upon, you know, what her students knew. So what's really nice about this program is you can make it work for you, make it work depending upon what your student, your student base and your comfort level.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mentioned earlier that there's resources available on the stock market game website. You do have to have a username and password to access the stock market game website. So if you do sign up for the stock market game, you will get access to the Teacher Support Center. We also have a temporary username and password that we can also provide. Just send us an email, ask us for it. We can do that. We also have documents on our website, and I can show those to you at the end of the session. So we're going to transition over to one of the burning questions that we have had from teachers is how do you find stocks? How do you research them? And I'm playing the summer game right now, which, by the way, you can all sign up for the summer game. It just started, and I just started it the other day, and I was like, okay, well, what stocks am I going to buy? So we're going to let Alan Cox talk about how do you find stocks? How do you do the research? Because anybody can do the research.
All right, Mary, you're going to pull up Yahoo Finance for us?
Yeah, let me go to that one. Do you want to talk about some of the useful sites while I'm here?
You're going to make this available to folks anyhow, right?
Yeah. Okay, so
websites. We're going to take a look at Yahoo Finance, which is a website that a lot of people like to use as they do the stock market game. Very kid friendly. I'm going to show you some really basic research techniques that you can very easily teach your kids as they, start the stock market game for the very first time and want to try to find out what companies are out there that maybe they already know something about, and whether those companies that they already know something about might be a good opportunity for investing in the stock market game.
So should we look at Hershey?
Well, you want to open up the site?
I have it open.
All right, you have it open.
Yeah, you might not. If you click on Nearpod, you can open it up too. I don't think everybody can see mine. Well, let me share my screen.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
Okay.
Because if not, you're going to have everybody having their own.
Yeah. Okay. So, does everybody? Can I have a thumbs up from somebody? Do people see Yahoo Finance?
It's still telling me to click my screen.
Okay. Minimize Nearpod, and then you should see it. As I said, we're working through this for the first time today, and
it's showing in the Meet.
It's showing the Meet. Okay.
Okay. Now,
okay.
Since Mary has already shown you a lesson involving Hershey, we thought we'd start there with you. So she's going to start typing the word Hershey, and it'll start giving her suggestions for what the ticker symbol would be for Hershey Corp. All right. And notice the very first one listed there, HSY is the ticker symbol for the Hershey company. And so she's going to click on that ticker symbol, and it's going to take her to another screen. All right. So let me kind of go through basic research here for you, looking at the company Hershey. Now, I always like to start with telling students, well, you think you might know what Hershey does, but just to make sure, let's go to the word profile, and you'll click on profile, takes you to another screen. You're going to see who runs the company, but come down the screen a little bit, past the map showing you where Hershey's located. And one of the things you'll see up at the top there before you get to the key executives is what sector Hershey company is and what industry they are. So notice this is consumer defensive, also known as consumer staple. These are the kinds of companies that we generally will not, we'll continue to buy products from them no matter what the economic conditions are. All right, you're going to buy some chocolate, maybe. At Easter time, you may invest in some of the more tasty things that Hershey does as Easter comes along, all right? Or some of the other holidays. So they're a confectioner industry in the consumer defensive sector. All right, Mary, come on down the screen and we'll get a paragraph description of what Hershey does. Well, I think we're all probably familiar with the candy portion of Hershey, but you may not know that Hershey also invests in and makes, for example, chewing gum. I was curious because I didn't know until yesterday when I looked at this for the first time that they make Twizzlers. Now, Hershey makes Twizzlers, one of my favorite confectioners. All right, so that's what Hershey does in addition to all the chocolate stuff that they do. So students may be interested in seeing exactly what the company does. Now, if you go back up to the summary page, let's take a look at some numbers here. And one of the first things I like to look at is the 52-week range of the price of Hershey. So you see current price is $171.64 per share. And as students do this, they'll see that that number changes during the day. Markets open at 9:30, they close at 4 o'clock. So during the day, the price is going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go both directions as investors are either buying stock or selling stock. So currently, Hershey's down 64 cents a share. And if you look at the 52-week range, so Mary, if you kind of put your cursor there and maybe show them where it is, over the last 52 weeks, a year, Hershey has sold as low as $125.50, and it has sold per share as high as $175.55. So right now, $171.62 is toward the high end of where it has sold in the last 52 weeks. And that makes this chart on the right very useful. So on the chart on the right, we can take a look at the year to date. Go ahead and click on that. So had you bought Hershey back at the beginning of the year, and Mary, if you could put your cursor right there,
Right there.
it's about 150 bucks a share. So if you bought this back in January, early January, you could have bought Hershey for $150 a share. It's now currently $171 per share. So that's an increase of about 20% or so, if my math is right. So Hershey is up, $20 or more per share just since January. All right, and you can see it's kind of going up and down in this past year. And if you go to 1 year, 1Y, you can see where Hershey was a year ago. And once again, all the way on the left-hand side, you'll see that it was about $125 or so back in the about a year ago today. All right. So we got profile. We see the 52-week high. We see that Hershey's about where they were at the highest end of that 52-week time period. So now we look at the market capitalization, market cap. So how big a company is Hershey? Well, Hershey is a $35 billion company. And the way we get that number is we take that $171.70 and we multiply it by all the shares that are out there. All right. So $171.70 times all the shares of Hershey that are out there and been sold, and we come up with a market capitalization of about $35 billion. Pretty good sized company. All right. Now, one of the things that investors are always curious about, and sometimes it's the most important factor, is, well, is this company making any money? Right? How well is Hershey doing in the marketplace? Well, for that, we look at the earnings per share. So if you want to get an idea of how much money Hershey makes for every share that's out there in the public, they make $6.72 per share. All right? So there are, hundreds of millions of shares, maybe even a billion shares that are out there. It looks like more than a billion. $6.72 per share. They do pay a dividend. A dividend is a share of the profits. The last time Hershey paid a dividend, which was on May the 20th, they paid a dividend of $3.22 per share, which is not bad. That's a 1.87% of the current share price. So a lot better than you could do in your bank for sure. So they are paying a dividend, and their earnings per share is $6.72. Now, the next number I want to show you is the one that I think is a good indication of, all right, well, is Hershey kind of an expensive stock to buy at that price, or is Hershey not so expensive at that price? And an indication that you can use to test that is the price earnings ratio. So the price earnings ratio, once again, Mary, if you show them that, is about 25.51. Well, how do we come up with that number? Well, it's the price of the stock, $171.58, compared to the earnings per share. So if you divide $171.58 by $6.72, you'll come up with 25.51. Well, what's that mean? Well, basically what it means is to buy Hershey right now at $171 per share, you're basically paying about 25 times what that company earns per share. All right? So $171.58 is about 25 times what they earn per share. Was that expensive or not so expensive? Well, if you take a look at the S&P 500 that we looked at earlier, those 500 big U.S. companies, the average price earnings ratio for all those companies is about 20 right now. All right? So all the companies in the S&P 500, you're paying about 20 times earnings for all those companies. So Hershey is not so bad in terms of the price earnings ratio compared to the S&P 500. All right? Now, the next thing I want to show you that's a very useful tactic on Yahoo Finance, particularly, one thing I like to use with students is if you go back up to the top of the screen and you see the word markets, and it's a drop down, and come down to where it says trending tickers. All right, these are the ticker symbols that are trending right now, according to Yahoo. And you'll see some familiar names here. For example, the very first one there. Right now in the market, Tesla is trending. Right now in the market, you have, let's see, who else would you recognize here? Alibaba down toward the bottom. Alibaba is the kind of the Chinese Amazon. Ford Motor Company is trending right now. GlaxoSmithKline is trending right now. And one of the things I like to show students that are playing the stock market game is over on the right-hand side, you can see the 52-week range for these companies that are trending right now. So notice Tesla is kind of at the high end right now of where it is over the 52 weeks. Sundial Growers is toward the bottom of the 52 week. So that would kind of make me interested in Sundial a little bit. Why? Because Sundial right now is going up. I can see it's up 7 cents. It's a pretty inexpensive stock. It's only 96 cents per share. And it's at the low end of where it has been over the last 52 weeks. And notice that Sundial in the last 52 weeks has sold for as much as $3 a share. So that might lead me to suspect, well, maybe that's a stock I should take a look at later on. All right. Let's see what else is trending right now that looks to be on more the bottom end of the scale. Come on down a little bit. Go to Ford, because that's a company that students would be interested in maybe. Ford right now is up 38 cents. It's a $15.29 stock. Notice that's toward the high of where it's been. All right. SmithKline is a pharmaceutical company. As you might suspect, that's toward the higher end of where it's been the last 52 weeks. And right below that is Nikola, some people like to say. Nikola is an electric vehicle company. And right now it's up a little bit, 79 cents per share. It's at the lower end of where it's been for the last 52 weeks. And electric vehicles are very, very much in the news right now. So that might be an interesting stock to take a look at. Right? So I always like to look for students to take a look at the trending tickers. So Mary, if you go back up to the summary page, I'll show them some financials real quick here.
Which page did you want to do?
Back to the summary page. For Hershey.
Oh, for Hershey?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to Hershey.
HSY. There you go. HSY.
What was our stock symbol again?
HSY.
Okay. Okay.
There we go. All right, let's take a look at some financials for Hershey. I'm not going to do all of them, but let's take a look at some of them. All right. First of all, if you look at total revenue, now revenue is different than profits. Revenue is how much money the company brings in. All right. And for the sales for Hershey, go back top of screen. There you go. Total revenue is about $8 billion. Notice these are in thousands. All right. So 8,408, 350 times 1,000 would give you $8 billion in revenue. And the cost to produce that $8 billion in revenue was about $4 billion. So the gross profit for Hershey is about $3.8 billion. It's a very profitable company, right? If you go down some of these other financials, you'll see that there's lots of little numbers here you can take a look at. For the most part, kids are not going to go into this much depth, but we do have teachers that are teaching, for example, accounting that like to take a little closer dive into the numbers, all right? But for the most part, taking a look at the total revenue, and then you get down to the profitability. That's about as far as you want to take kids right now, unless you're teaching business of some kind, okay?
Okay.
Now,
All right.
go back up to the summary page.
Mhm.
And you can see there's something called statistics. Let's take a look at statistics for Hershey. So here you see, once again, the market capitalization. It's a $35 billion company. There is a price earnings ratio there, and then the PEG ratio. I like to show kids what the PEG ratio is all about, because the PEG ratio tells you the price earnings ratio, which, remember, for Hershey is about 25, and you can compare that to how quickly Hershey is growing. So over the next 5 years, how much growing do we anticipate for Hershey? And we can compare that to the price earnings ratio. So the price earnings ratio for Hershey compared to how much Hershey is growing is about 4.7, so around 5, right? So the price earnings ratio compared to how much Hershey is growing is about 5. So this is a pretty good statistic for you, because the price earnings ratio is obviously greater than the PEG ratio. So a lot of people like to look at that as an indicator of, well, is the company's growing, the price earnings ratio is about 25. So does this make this a good investment right now in terms of how I think it's growing in the future, or not? Well, that's kind of up in the air right now for Hershey. You want to get that PEG ratio a little bit lower than 5 if you can. But 5 is not a really terrible number. But the lower the PEG ratio, probably the better in terms of looking at something for the next 5 years. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Ellen, for your explanation. I want to turn the session over right now to Flo, and she's going to, now we've gone through all the heavy duty stuff. She's going to tell us, how do you actually do this?
Okay, so they work in teams, so collaboration is the key with the stock market game. I have run it as a club. I've run it as breakout during class, enrichment breakout in math class. I've run it in social study classes where it's Financial Fridays. So I've tried and had to do a variety of different methods based on what my job was in the school, whether I was a classroom teacher or, as I am now, a magnet resource teacher. And then This year, being virtual, it was a club because it was just too hard for students to get their work done in a 45-minute session, which is what we had virtually. And then again, with the hybrid, it just broke it up. So the clubs were voluntary. I started out as a club because my principal wasn't sure about the program. And we had 72 fifth graders, and 60 of the 72 were coming at 8 o'clock in the morning to the club. And the 12 that weren't coming because of equity. They couldn't get there. So I argued and won to have it in the school. I then put it into the math classes. And in the math classes, I had initial lessons, of course, and then I had them go to enrichment where they could go on. And at the time it was Edmodo that we could use in Baltimore County. So they would communicate via Edmodo. So if, let's say, Jamal had time, he finished all his math, he could go in, and he couldn't buy his stock without his team's collaboration and agreement, but he could put into the Edmodo, hey, I looked at Ford, I think it's doing well, you know, this is why. And students really embrace that communication. They still had time to meet during the week, but it allowed the constant management of their portfolio. In social studies, I go into the 4th and 5th grade classrooms once a week, and we run the portfolios. I do mini lessons. So as Mary shared, I started out looking at the SIFMA lessons, but they tended to be about an hour long. And our classes are 50 to 60 minutes with our departmentalization. So I wanted the children to have time to do that discussion and that research. So I ended up doing very mini lessons. In the beginning, there's front loading of longer lessons because they need to learn what is the stock market, what is a stock, what is a company, what's a corporation. And there are several videos and resources that Mary and I are working on to get up on the website. And they've proven fruitful for my students and very kid-friendly. And along with the research, I've broken the research down one sheet per topic. So one sheet for price to earnings ratio, one sheet. And if you find your students can only handle one, what we call fundamental research piece, which is how sound is the company? And then one technical, which is like the 52-week range. How is it trading type thing? You have to determine what you're comfortable with as a teacher and what your students are comfortable with. And if it's just that first sheet of what industry, what are the competitors type thing, you start there because you have to be comfortable navigating this with your students. You don't have to be the guru or the expert of everything. You're learning with them. So you can add on sheets as you go. And obviously we have different levels of grades here. So you can do that. With elementary, I go up, I think I have 4 fundamental resources and 3 or 4 technical resources. So you can pick and choose what you like, or you can add on and share with the council, with Mary, Alan, or Julie, or whomever, and they can add on more resources to what they have. So I know I'm talking fast, but I know we have a lot to get through, so I apologize. My New England fast speech works in this kind of situation. When you start out with your teams, you again do the initial, what is the stock market, all the videos and lessons. You then have to determine how are you going to pick your teams. And I've done it many different ways. I've had the students pick their teams. Then you tend to have all girls, all boys, all kids that like sports, all kids that like tech kind of thing. And so they're not diversified in their teams. So what I do now is I do an initial activity where they pick a company, or actually vocabulary from the initial vocabulary in the lessons, and they do a poster, just a hand poster, and I watch how they work together. And then I pick the teams that way. I know there are different schools of thought. My school of thought is to have an even number. 4 is, to me, the best number for a team. The reason being, you don't have the outvoting, no, we're not doing this. You have more of a collaborative effort where students are discussing and saying, okay, we're going to buy 100 shares of McDonald's, but we're going to keep our eye on Burger King, or we're going to do this kind of, so they actually collaborate and discuss versus we voted, sorry, you're out, we're in, a kind of situation, which we know adults do. And I use the example of going to the polls to vote. If my husband and I vote and we vote differently, there's no collaboration there. We just voted. And so I work on that with the students. So it's good to mix the students up because they should be able to work with each other and have them collaborate in those team efforts. I've created for them, and again, these resources will be available hopefully soon. Mary and I are meeting next week, so I'm excited. School is out, so we can do this. I created a daily goal sheet for each team. So their goal in the beginning might be buy stocks, because that's where they are. And so they write down what stocks they looked at, what were things that made them decide to buy the stock, what were things that made them not decide. So they kind of do a whole buy, hold, sell circling thing to determine this. It forces them to take notes when they're working together, and they take turns with the jobs with taking notes. We are 1-to-1 in Baltimore County, so everybody has devices, but I encourage them not to have all the devices open, have someone ready to go on the portfolio. Two people maybe doing the research with, I use Yahoo and Morningstar, doing the research, and one person doing note taking, and they rotate around. So they are always communicating. Along with that, I created buy sell tickets. I know the market is all electronic right now, as is the stock market game, but forcing them to write down the information helps them to keep track, because you'll find your students will go, we bought the stock T, but we don't know what it is. Whereas if they wrote out the name AT&T and they wrote this ticker symbol T, it also forces them to multiply with decimals by whole numbers, and then to divide with decimals by whole numbers. So it's forcing that math. I let them use a calculator, and they see the pattern when we get to the decimal unit. They go, wow, we see a pattern here. The number of decimal places when you multiply go into the product. So they figure this all out just organically. I do it year long. They get stagnant mid-year, at least my students do, where they're like, what do we do now? We've invested. So I have them do a mid-year check, see whether they feel the market's bear or bull, and I introduce that for them. What does it mean? And then they determine how they feel and whether they need to reposition their portfolio. The game has a rule of 20%. I have a rule of 10% in any one stock or industry. That's my rule. It has nothing to do with the game. I tell them, you're investing for a year, but truly, if you were investing, it would be for a lifetime. So you don't want to, I do that with my students. I don't look at, it's a year, we're going to win kind of thing. It's a year, and I want them to understand, but they would be investing long-term. Along with that 10%, because some stocks are so heavy, if it's over $100 per share, they can only buy 10 shares. If it's under $100, they must buy 100 for their initial lot that they buy. I know that was a lot of information. I apologize for the speed, but I know Mary wants to share the website. So I'm going to answer any questions that anyone has through the chat or whatever, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Mary, so you can share the site.
Right, and I'm going to be very quick because I know it's almost 12:20, and we can I'm willing to stick around for a few minutes if you should have any questions. On our website, and I put the link in the chat, under student programs, if you click on stock market game, we have a little adjustment we have to make here on the website. There's some videos here that Flo created about stock market game startup. There's also how to register, and I also put in the chat, you can register for the summer, and you yourself can play this summer if you want to. It's free. I'm playing. I'm not doing very well, but I'm playing. There's also some sign up information. If you're in Baltimore County, you will use this sign up spot right here. This link right here will take you to the SIFMA Teacher Support Center, but we also have some MCEE curriculum that you can look at, and we have some new items coming soon. But we also have broken down SIFMA lessons. These are the most popular lessons that you can download the entire, you can download everything, or you can download parts of it. Flo also has some different documents that she uses, and we are going to be making those available to you as well. So, you know, one of the things we have to juggle with is how much information do we give you, and how much is too much, and how much is not enough. We will be having in the fall what we call an all-call session, training session, where we'll get you started with the game on how on registering, or you can watch the video to figure out how to register, but registering and some of the rules, and if there's any changes, and we'll have some different sessions. Some of the counties have asked us to do sessions specifically for their staff, so we will have that as well. Any rate, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I hope that this was valuable for you. And if you have any questions and you want to hang on for a few minutes, please feel free. And I'm going to put in the chat my email address. You can always email me as well. Okay.
You can put mine in there too if you want to.
Okay, sure. Here we go. All right.
I'm sorry, I have one quick question.
Absolutely.
Will this be presented again, like some of the workshops that were earlier this morning, like the cyber currency? Because I had a conflict and I needed to participate in another meeting for computer science with Baltimore County. So I ended up signing off to sign on to that. And then I came back to this session. So I was wondering if you were going to be repeating any of it again, especially the cyber currency.
The sessions were recorded, and so we'll put those on our website.
Thank you.
The other thing is the cyber one has been very popular, and we just might have to run that one again. I mean, we ran it in the spring, so it's possible that we can run it again. If you send me an email, I can also maybe hook you up with the cyber one through NextGen as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That was a good question. Any other questions out there? All right, I think we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. And again, thank you so much for coming. I hope this was beneficial for everybody.
Thank you. This was very, very helpful. I appreciate participating in all four.
What school system are you with?
Baltimore City.
Okay. Email us with any questions. We'd love to have, get some more of your colleagues to come in and join us.
Definitely.
Playing the game. And what level are you? High school, middle school?
Elementary, middle school.
Elementary, middle school. Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, thank
my daughter attends Wellwood International on Smith Avenue, and I was wondering for Ms. Flo, do you actually work with that school since you're in Baltimore County?
I actually know the assistant principal, Alex Paradise.
Yes.
He used to teach at my school, and when he first went over, I said, let me know when you're ready. So push him, Jamal.
Okay.
And we'll get them signed up, because I think he would really enjoy it. He's only been 3 years now as the AP there. So initially just adjusting, but I think it would be a great fit for every school. And is Jerry still on? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So Jerry Otto is spearheading this for Baltimore County. And I know they have financing for schools through Baltimore County resources. And Jamal, also check your credit union out for your school. I belong to the Millionaires Club at the First Financial Credit Union. And
Okay,
they give me money up front for my school store and I
Okay.
mean, buying stuff and things and for the stock market. So there are resources out there.
No,
And
most definitely.
if you got my email in the chat, I can tell you the resources to help you.
Good, I
And,
appreciate that.
and you can also,
sign up for the summer stock market game. That'll give you a good indication of how it's done. And that way, if you could start in the fall with your kids, you'll have already experienced it for them.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I've actually taught my my oldest daughter a little bit because like she sit next to me when I'm investing and I'm
Yeah.
researching companies. So like she helped me actually at the beginning of the pandemic because I learned this from my parents. My mom and my dad was more the lines of type of individuals like if I'm going to invest my money in anything, I'm going to invest my money in the things that people use on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
So I wind up buying shares in the AMC movie theater company and literally I bought my shares when they were dirt cheap, not even $10. I bought them when they were $2. And I literally bought about 50 shares of them. And then like I took some of my daughter's savings account and invested some of the money in that as well. So looking at the turnaround right now, like I always make sure whatever I'm doing, she's right next to me.
so you can play the game with her this summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I plan on to.
Yeah, just hop on now, and then you'll also have access to all the resources. Jamal, I also believe that there is money for Baltimore City.
There is.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can take care
We
of.
can get, there's money. So if you don't, yeah, so don't, when we do our presentations, we always say, do not let money hold you back from signing up for the game. We'll find it.
Okay, that's not a problem. I'll definitely touch base with because a couple of my colleagues here, because I'm a district employee that's housed here at the school. I'm a resource coordinator. So talking to some of the teachers here at the school, they want financial literacy as a component of math and as well as social studies. So like I was able to help them with the curriculum that I found for kindergartners through Paterson, New Jersey. Their school district literally teaches financial literacy to their children. So I was able to find that component and actually share that with them. But I'm definitely going to go through you guys because you have a lot more to offer.
Jamal, can you put your email in the chat? Because maybe what we should do is set up a meeting and get with you and we can help you identify some free resources because we like
most definitely.
We like the word free.
Yeah.
And for elementary and or middle, either, or whatever age group.
Actually, both. Like if it was up to me, because like I said, I've been teaching my oldest daughter, Kayla, financial literacy since she was 4. And I started with like this Dave Ramsey game that I had that like literally she earned money through working. So like she learned the 3 different components, like you save money, you invest money, and as well as you spend money. So we break money down into thirds, and she's been doing that since then. So if I know if I was able to teach that to a 4-year-old, I can teach it to anybody's 4-year-old.
Good for you. Good for you.
And Jamal, the school job store thing that I do for the whole school, it really helps with behavior because they all feel a sense of community with that. So if you want to get in touch with me about that model and how I run it for the whole school, I'd be more than happy.
Yeah.
It really has created this through finance. We do not use it for behavior. We don't take money away. But because they have jobs and they're part of the community, they take pride in the school.
Yeah, you run a program very similar to an organization based out of Philadelphia, because that's where I'm from, by the name of the Micro Society. And like the same exact thing that you're talking about, I ran that same program with students in Philadelphia. And literally the middle schoolers were the government, but the lower school was the society. And those kids literally had a blast running that program.
Absolutely. And they love saving for the big ticket items.
Yes.
And they love some of them spending all their money, and some of them, again, I had loans. I had one girl who made a lot of money giving loans because the interest rate was 20%, and
Right.
it's a wonderful learning
My
tool
gosh.
for the
Yeah.
whole school. So
It's absolutely fantastic. Oh, I had a fun fact. So I don't know, y'all guys know Milton Hershey, like, as far as like in middle of Pennsylvania, he also has a boarding school there. And the beauty of that boarding school is when they actually graduate out of that school, long as those kids actually attend a 4-year school, no matter if it's undergrad or graduate, it's fully paid for, and they graduate with brand new laptops too. And I was just like, yeah, so they really take care of those kids that actually go through that system.
You know, I know somebody who had 4 children who went there,
Mhm.
and she said it was the most difficult decision of her life. A single mom
Mhm.
sent her 4 kids there, and she said it was the best thing that ever happened to her.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and you drive by there, it's a really nice campus. So
Yeah.
beautiful. I have to hop off because my
Yeah.
puppy's due for a walk, but please keep in touch. Mary and Alan, amazing job as always. And we'll
thank you for joining us, Flo. Really
No problem.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Y'all guys have a great day. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I teach high school, and so
Okay.
I'm going to be in charge of the FBLA club at my high school. So I'm
Yes.
thinking of doing this only because I'm in graduate school. I'm trying to get my certification, and I don't have a whole lot of time to think about a whole lot of things. So I'm trying to put together stuff that I think would be fun for students and doesn't require me to do a whole lot of thinking to get it up and
Right.
running.
So
I want to do the stock market game this summer, but my question is, because I have a high school student, if I sign myself up, can I sign him up too, or he can't have his own account?
well, you can do a parent-child team.
Okay.
So yeah, so you can sign up. Let me tell you something about FBLA. FBLA actually within the organization itself has a stock market game. You can play the stock market game through FBLA itself, and you play against the other FBLA teams. Okay, now so I've just said that. With that being said, if you want to play with MCEE, and FBLA charges $10 a team, we charge $15. That's for the short game. I don't know how much they charge for the long game. The difference is that the competition among the Maryland schools, and let me tell you something, the students pay attention to the rankings. And so if you think your FBLA group would rather compete against Maryland schools, then you'll want to go through us. You might not want to pay. What school are you in?
I'm in Baltimore County Public Schools, so I'm at Milford Mill Academy.
Oh, so you should be able to sign up through the Baltimore County website then.
Okay.
And because Baltimore County is being it is somebody's paying for Baltimore County.
Okay.
So you'll want to sign up through okay, there's a couple of ways you can sign up. One is you can go to our website, you can click on the link for Baltimore County. The other way you can do it is you can email Jerry. I'm going to put her name in the chat, Otto. O-T-T-O. She's a resource teacher for social studies, elementary. And you can email her, and she's sort of coordinating all of the registrations for Baltimore County.
Okay.
So, okay, I just put her name in the chat. But that's a great idea to keep your FBLA kids busy. I did it when I ran an FBLA group, and we played the stock market game. The only thing you have to be careful about is if they are in an accounting class, that is also playing the game. You cannot be in two teams at the same time. So
Okay.
that's the only thing you have to be kind of careful about.
Uh-huh.
The other thing is if you want, the Millionaires Club, I'm going to put this in the chat also, is another tool, another way to go with in FBLA by and because they give you some seed money. So if your FBLA group wants to say have a fundraiser and they need some money to start with, Millionaires Club is a great way to do that. Also, if you want the students to do some specific activities that you don't have to do a lot of work on, I'm going to other website. If you went to the earlier session on crypto, you didn't go to did you go to the earlier session on cryptocurrency on the cybersecurity?
No, I wasn't able to do that one.
Okay. So the website I just put in the chat, there's some programs there that you can also just say, we're going to do this, we're going to work on this today. So the other thing with the stock market game, there is, you can arrange for people to come into your class virtually, or in person. I guess in person is going to start. You can also invite people to come in and meet with your students and provide some guidance, and you will get some information once you sign teams up, how you can do that. So you can, to me, I always found the hardest part was finding like guest speakers and things to keep them busy. So that's something else you can do, and you can do that through the stock market game.
All right. So I did sign up and create an account on your website, but I didn't do it through Baltimore County Public Schools because I didn't even realize there was a link there for that.
Okay. You can
So
always
is
sign
it
up.
easy to link my account to that?
Or you can just sign up again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But yeah. Yeah. So that's good. And you can always send us an email and ask, we can help you out.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I hate I missed most of it, but I'm teaching computer science this year and I don't know anything about the curriculum or anything. So I felt like I needed to go to that session.
Which course are you teaching?
I'm teaching accounting, computer science fundamentals, and business, the introduction to business class.
Oh, so are you using code.org for your computer science?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. It is, you know what? Those lessons are so easy to follow.
Yeah, I'm going to, since my goal was not to do anything over the summer, obviously I am going to be totally busy this summer. So my goal is to go through the program myself as a student to see, what students will be doing.
I've done that course, and I've done the AP Computer Science Principles one. I haven't done the whole new Computer Science Principles, but I've done most of it. So
yeah, I hear Khan Academy has a whole curriculum, computer science curriculum as well.
Yeah, they do. They do also. I like code.org because it's just sort of turnkey, Sorry. It is. And it's really easy to keep track of what the kids have been doing in the lesson. I mean, like everything's like right there. And you know what? They did a great job of making things virtual friendly. I mean, a really good job. So, yeah. So
I'm going to go and review all of that this summer. That's what I'm taking my summer time to do.
Okay. Again, reach out if you need some advice also on the introduction to business. Let me know as well. And I can also give you some ideas about how to incorporate the stock market game into your accounting course, because that's really easy to do.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, that's super easy. So we can actually pull up the curriculum and I can show you where the different bits and pieces are where you can put that.
Okay. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. Okay.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Anybody else out there? All right. I'm going to end the meeting. Okay. You good? End the meeting for all.